They actually have a plan for today's Nice Guys on Business podcast. You don't want to miss it.
Rather than thinking about your mental health, I think we really need to think about what is your mental fitness like? Like, are you really having, like, you can build your triceps, you can build your biceps, you can build your hamstrings, but are you actively practicing mental fitness so that on the days that you really need it, you have the muscles and the practice in place that you will handle the thing to the best of your ability?
Oh yeah, I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as the Nice Guys on Business. Running a business is hard. Being a business leader is even harder. The Nice Guys bring in top industry pros to help your business prosper in a tough world. Get real advice from real people to get you real results today. Now it's time for the Nice Guys on Business. Here's your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
All right, Nice Guy community. So when it comes to practicing self-mastery and becoming the best version of yourself, today's guest, Neal Conlon, can not only help you find your inner voice, but he'll also help empower you to take the needed action steps to better yourself. It's time to stop being a meh and start being the awesome self we know that you are capable of being. Let's take a dive into health, some wellness information, and a better you with our guest today. Welcome, Neal, to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. Really excited to do this with you.
I am happy to have you here. And as we were doing a little bit of preliminary conversation during the, before I hit record, one of the things that I saw during your, for your live events that you do, and Nice Guy community, we'll talk about all this stuff and how you get in touch with Neal and all that in a little bit. But I'm going to take a selfish journey for a second. I saw this thing that you have coming up in October for a medicine journey. And I've always thought about the idea of experimenting with that kind of thing. I just never have, but I'm getting closer to it. So I'm really curious, what amount of self-improvement comes through things like external influences, like taking a medicine journey, versus the stuff we already have in our head that we know we can get there, but we have all of the BS that keeps, that chatter, that squirrel chatter that goes off in your brain. How do we do this in a way that makes you feel comfortable, in a way that makes you feel safe, and in a way that you actually can have some impact? And I know I just threw a whole bunch of shit at you before I even said hello to you, but I'm just like, my brain is going a million miles an hour, and I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I love the frame, man. I mean, I'll take a step back from that and kind of go through my own journey into this space, and then how I got here to where that is, because I was at one point just really going through my own stuff, the stuff that entrepreneurs go through. Why do I do this thing? The shiny object syndrome, working in a corporate job but wanting to be running my own businesses. Self-worth, am I good enough? Who am I to be the expert? All the things that, whether you're a solopreneur, you're an entrepreneur, that we all go through.
Sure.
And at the time I was running sales and marketing for a big company, and I was traveling all over the world, and I was kind of burnt out, but I was leading people, and I couldn't tell my peers that I was going through things. I couldn't tell my employees that I was going through things. And I couldn't even go through my family at that point, because all these different people were also dependent on me to be the leader, right? And I started to tuck myself away and started down this holistic journey of meditation and yoga and all the different things that used to be in the back of the classified ads, of a newspaper, are now front and center, and now the thing that the famous person is doing, so you must do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I took an opportunity to dip into the jungle of South America for a couple of weeks, and went down this whole crazy out in the jungle plant medicine ayahuasca experience. And it's like, even as a military veteran guy and a guy who's done a whole bunch of other scary stuff in my life, there's this big, huge, WTF did I just do? And
yep.
And I came back to the United States, and really started to like feel really drawn to how powerful this was. And then at the same time, I was also exploring the world of like personal development, Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, and I started to go to like some of their events.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this like realization that like these events are great, great. I'm a huge fan of all of the work that those guys do and many of the other people that are in this personal development space. And I really struggled with taking whatever I learned in this weekend, right, into practical application.
Yeah.
And I started to really think that that was interesting because I'm such a doer. I'm such a practical person. You give me a hammer and a nail, I'm going to bang it into the wood. You show me a sales process, you show me a marketing strategy, I can execute on it. But I still like kind of struggled with some of the chatter going on in the background of who, what, when, where, why, and all this stuff.
Well, and before you go on, I just want to say, oftentimes I go to the self-improvement seminars and motivational seminars and learning conferences, and I get very excited, and then by the time I leave at the end of the weekend, the excitement is waning, and by the time I get back to the office or my desk, actually on Monday morning, it's gone, and I'm like, I don't know how. I want to retain that excitement, but it like you said, it wanes. It makes it really challenging. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt there. I just thought it's like such a typical thing that we all go through when it's not like, hey, here's a process, institute that, put this process into place within your organization and it will work. It's not like that, because now we're dealing with the emotion and the stuff behind the scenes. It's the head shit that we go through. Okay, enough said. You keep going.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And so, long story short, I go to my first US-based ayahuasca ceremony in a city. I just arrive at somebody's house, basically, and for lack of better words, did not have as great of experience as I did when I was in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out of it, in all honesty, a little messed up about it for a couple of days, just not feeling good about it. And it sent me into this really amazing opportunity where I started to look at the pre-work that needs to be done in order for you to be in the right headspace to have a successful plant medicine experience. Then the piece that in my opinion, a lot of the personal development conferences miss out on, which is the actual integration process that comes afterwards.
Afterwards. That's important.
And so it set me down this path. And as that's all happening, I start getting into this coaching and hosting my own events. And then COVID hits. And then I decided that even though COVID was a thing and people were saying stay at home, I was going to start building in-person events. And so all through COVID, even early days, even in the middle of 2020, once a month, I'm hosting, 10 to 15 people, not with plant medicine, right? Just with frameworks, strategies, formulas, how to do personal mindset work, how to do this work, how to do that work. And I started to have my own little cohort. And so as I got about 3 or 4 months into it, I'd done about 5 or 6 of them. And I was asking these people that had attended my events what they thought, what they had implemented, what had changed. And basically, it started to go into the same kind of track of what happens at a Tony Robbins event or Joe Dispenza, where it's like you have this like terrarium-like experience where everything feels like it's going to be like this from now on. And then it weans out. And so I immediately took that into practice and started to now bring in plant medicine, because I started to realize the thing that had tilted me, whether it was from a conscious or subconscious or the way that you embody the practice or the way you integrate these things into your life, with all of the stress in society these days, we need a little kind of heavier handed pivot in order for us to pivot through some of the stuff that we have to carry. And then I felt super, super drawn to being kind of a trust facilitator or the coach who coaches through integration and then into practical application of these things.
Okay, before we go on though, and this was completely my fault because I started here with the solution. I didn't even talk about the problem. And one of the biggest problems that is being experienced by those in not only our community, but the entrepreneurial community, the corporate world, the nonprofit sector, every sector that you can possibly mention, every industry, it's this thing that is our greatness. Maybe I'll use your words to make it easy, because you said them so well. What is numbing the greatness that is out there now? Let's talk about the problem. We just did talk about for just a second some of the solution that you can provide. But what do you see as what's numbing all of the greatness that is out there in your estimation?
This is a great question, man. I think that through all my work, what I'll say is I think that I'll say it like this: in the world of parasympathetic nervous systems, right? They're like, just to go deep, right?
Yeah.
Is there is this thing in our mind, right, called dopamine and serotonin.
Yep.
And at a spiritual level, it is meant to be a system that provokes us to go on a journey. We need adventure, right? And in the work that I've done with spiritual groups all around the world, from India to South America, right, it is the thing that causes you to want to hunt, to gather, to survive, to procreate and have children and have legacy, and for you to go and take over other tribes and win. And we've become so good at those things not being important to us. For the most part, as long as you get up every day and figure out something that you're halfway good at, you can put a roof over your head, you can feed yourself, and you can live. And over the past several dozen years, because of technology and everything else at place, all those things have now numbed us to the point of where things like legacy and greatness and hunting and gathering are not top of mind for us anymore. And so now it's actually created this natural, weird anxiety, nervousness, OCD, ADHD, attention span, because our dopamine and serotonin receptors are so overloaded constantly every day that if you don't learn how to mitigate and manage the relationship that you have with all these things, you are, in my opinion, just destined to be freaking out your whole life.
Well, dude, you got Postmates and Uber Eats fucking delivering food to your door. You don't even have to worry about hunting anymore. We put our anxiety into things like, I wonder if my sofa is comfortable, rather than, hey, I better get out there and start hunting for fucking food or I'm going to die. I don't mean to be so like emotional about it, but I even fall prey to it. I like watching television. I enjoy watching a show or two or three or five, a series on Netflix. I've gotten so used to everything being at my fingertips that I can't expend the energy that I need to burn off some of that. And I just think sometimes we just get so fucking lazy. Not meaning to. Even the most motivated, ambitious people get lazy. Do you find that to be the case also, or am I kind of coming at it from left field here?
For me, in my work, it is about the relationship of it, right? I often talk to people about what makes the lion the king of all the animals, and it's a really good analogy because if you think about it, right, there are other animals, right, that are much bigger than a lion, faster, smarter, all the things, right? But there is this kind of natural alignment that the lion has where if the male lion of the pack, right, All he is so clear on his purpose and what he's supposed to do within the pack of animals. And even the female lions, like they are so clear about their purpose in everything that they do, to the point that where when a lion sits in the jungle or sits down in the desert, right, in the weeds, watching thousands of antelopes go by, right, it is not looking at every single one. You don't see the head, and I'm shaking my head for the viewers as it looks at every single one. It is just staring ahead, very, very focused, and knows that when the right one runs by, it will snag it and get it probably within like an 86th percentile or something like that, that it'll get the animal that it's been waiting for. And then it will gorge itself to the point of being guttural. And then it will lay there and nap for 3 or 4, 6 hours because it is now lazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's eaten its fill. And now in today's world, we don't have those experiences where if we're not looking for food, food will find us. So we can fill a fridge with food. You can order from Postmates. You don't even got to think about your food. You can get a meal plan and have 10 meals a week show up for you,
Yep.
and not even think about what you got to eat.
Yeah. Shit like that. It doesn't bother me, but it's a part of the problem that I don't want a solution for, other than sometimes I don't like when I have these feelings of anxiety or stress or any of those feelings that I get when they're satiated by things like Netflix and Hulu. So okay, so we've talked about now part of the problem. We've now talked about some of the solutions that you have to offer. What is a symptom that someone would be experiencing when they know that they have the problem, and they know that whether it's through your methodology or others, they should start looking for the solution? What are some of those things that are happening to them? What does that look like?
Right. Well, I tend to look at most people's problems as you either have a mindset problem, a physical problem, you can have a relationship problem, you can have a wealth problem. Those are probably the big ones. And I always tap into something that we don't talk a lot about in society that is now kind of starting to become addressed with all the changes going on in the world, right? And that is that when I was in the United States Marine Corps for a bunch of years, people used to always ask me, what makes the Marines different? And there's a whole bunch of humble brag and people, there's really great stories and jokes and, sarcasm around it. But if you boil it down to one thing, there is that the Marine Corps does differently than any other military service on the planet. It's force readiness. And what that means is you are constantly training for the thing in some way, shape, or form. So if that means you're pretending to hold a gun in your hand one day, and then you're getting a gun in your hand, and then you're just practicing pulling a trigger with no rounds, then you learn how to use blank rounds. Then you get to train on a range, right? Firing the gun. Mm-hmm. Then you may get to do a live fire exercise because someday you may have to actually do it. It is so repetitious in nature that, of course, by the time you actually have to do the thing, and that's with all things in the Marine Corps. It's with swimming. It's with exercise. It's with camouflaging yourself. It's all these things. There's always this force readiness. In the civilian world, there is no force. There's no practicing for relationships. There is no practicing for wealth. There is no practicing for your mindset. You literally have to work the thing every single day. And then when it doesn't go the way that you thought it was going to go, there is this self-deprecation that happens. And I've really started to empower this with a lot of people that I coach. And it's part of our methodology in some of our retreat programs, and even in some of the online accountability groups that we have, which is this thing that you're quote unquote suffering from, or this pain point you have. Are you actually prepared for it? Or have you just been repeating the cycle that has just been put in front of you? And like we just finished getting through, last week I think was Suicide Awareness Week. A couple weeks before that was Mental Health Awareness Week. And even in one of the podcasts that I think you introduced me to, the Health Tech podcast, people are really talking about these long-term effects of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually believe now, and I'm starting to put this into practice with a lot of people, rather than thinking about your mental health, I think we really need to think about what is your mental fitness like?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, are you really having, like, you can build your triceps, you can build your biceps, you can build your hamstrings, but are you actively practicing mental fitness so that on the days that you really need it, you have the muscles and the practice in place that you will handle the thing to the best of your ability?
All right. So we talked about the problem. We talked about some of the solutions. I want to share it with our community so that they understand what practices and what ways that you potentially have for them to be able to work with you. So it sounds like, just from my experience in looking at your web and having a couple of meetings with you, it sounds like you have some live events. You also have some private and group coaching. What are the ways that people can work with you, or did I just hit them all?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just hit them all. We have a bunch of in-person events. Sometimes we do all men. Sometimes we do all women. We also have co-ed events as well. Some of them are plant medicine based, meaning that we have ayahuasca or something called San Pedro, which is a cactus, and psilocybin, which is, of course, mushrooms. So we work with all those all over the United States, wherever it makes sense, based on legalization and all those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
We also have other events that are meant to be entry points, which do not involve plant medicine, which are meant to be kind of opening up to this type of work. We have virtually online, we have weekly accountability groups, which is small community, think mastermindy things.
Mm-hmm.
And then for people who really want to get deep into the weeds, I have one-on-one coaching, and I also I've now, just in the past couple of months, started to onboard a couple other coaches that I'm now training on the frameworks and methodology. Going into next year, we'll have a whole bunch of different coaches who come from different backgrounds. So when people have different needs, we have the services and the attention to offer those services as well.
Typically someone that comes out of the services, whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, wherever they're coming from, typically don't get into the field that you're getting into. What's your? I mean, is there something from your background that led you down this path specifically? Because again, discipline doesn't from the armed services doesn't always lead down the path that you have gone down. So how have you found this?
Yeah, like from camouflage to self-love, right?
Right, exactly, man. That's so true. That would be a great. Maybe it already is. That would be a great program for you to introduce to to veterans.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question very much, and I think ultimately the short answer is I built something that I needed, that didn't exist when I was looking for it. Like a lot of other,
mm-hmm.
A lot of folks that are solopreneurs or start their own little small business with high hopes for taking it to a big thing are creating something that they need for themselves that they just can't seem to find. And what I found, I really feel that I am on the cutting edge or the beginning of that wave where people are starting to realize that that there is not a need for you to separate your business life and your personal development journey.
Yes.
And, something that has come up for me that I was doing a keynote on a few weeks ago, and this is a great kind of segue into this, is I did a keynote for a Fortune 500 company a couple of weeks ago. And the problem was large sales organizations, sales are down 20% year over year. And they're trying to work through frameworks and strategies to empower their sales organization to make more sales. And it sent me down this really interesting path of reflection into if you give a salesperson or a marketer, all the tools, the CRM, the email automation, the chatbot, the website, the testimonial, the case study,
Yep.
and they're not making sales, how else can you drive them? And I fundamentally came to one key point that is like critical in the work that everybody does in the world today. And that is that whatever your engagement is like during the day, you will take that home with you. And so if you have a bad day and you got to go home to your kids or go home to your partner or go home to whatever you go home to, however your day was, you will take that home to them. And so if for no other reason, then you don't want to bring home a bad day to your kids or to your partner because they don't deserve that. You should find a way to have a mindset to be in the environment, have proximity to the right people so that the likelihood of that happening is reduced significantly.
Nice. And I think that goes both ways too. You could have a challenged personal life, challenged in your relationships, and bring that to the work environment, and it will adversely affect your work environment as well. I see it happen all the time with podcasters and people that are my hosts. I can see their personality. I can hear their personality in the episodes that they bring, which translates to the message that they create for their audience as well.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Neal, what's the best way for our community to get in touch with you? The information that we shared today, I know my community will find fascinating, and I know they'll want to either connect with you through social media or get in touch with you about one of your programs that you have put together.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I talk about these topics every single day, 7 days a week on Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram handle is at I am Neal Conlon, NealConlon, and my Facebook is Neal Conlon. Of course, you can Google me if you're not on those ones and find me on Twitter and all the places. I'm all the places.
And we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes so you can get to both Neal's Instagram and Facebook pages and accounts as well. And you have a live event. I know you have live events that you're doing all the time. As of the airing of this, there's one that's probably happening the coming weekend, but that might be a little too close for someone to commit. What events do you have coming up in November or December that you might want to just share a little information about?
Yeah, so we have an event October 21st and 22nd. That weekend is a plant medicine experience. Anyone who's interested can reach out to that. We might have a few spots open by the time this airs. And then we will have another event the weekend before Thanksgiving is going to be our last event for the year. And then we kind of go into this reset period and then kind of pop back up in February.
Well, Neal, it certainly has been a pleasure having you on the show. Really great to have met you. I met you through actually doing some outreach for the Healthier Tech podcast, which is a show that TurnKey, our company, produces and helps put together as well. And I said, as soon as I heard you and saw your background, I'm like, while I love to have you on the Healthier Tech because you did a great job on that show as well, I'm like, oh no, I got to have him on my show as well because what a great guest you have been and what amazing amount of wisdom and knowledge that you were able to share with the community. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, man, I feel the exact same way and excited to be on this podcast and to do more stuff with you in the future as well.
Thanks, Neal. Thanks for being here. Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to our guest, Neal Conlon. All of his information, including access to his social media pages, his website, and the programs that he has put in place will be right there in the show notes. Just go ahead and click the link. Hey, if you haven't had a chance or if you haven't taken a moment, please take a moment. I know we've been on the air for 7+ years, 1,300 plus episodes. The Nice Guys have been around. If you haven't reviewed the show on Apple Podcasts, you're missing out. Well, I'm missing out on you. So please take a moment and do that. It'll only take you a couple of moments. Just head over to Apple Podcasts and just hit the little 5-star review and give us a 5-star and give us a 2-star. I don't care. Just take action. Give us a star, any kind of star at all. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. 5 episodes a week. Isn't that like some kind of a war crime? Why don't you just waterboard these poor people?